New Jersey officer, a recurring guest on the show, stopped at ATM and pizzeria instead of investigating double murder.
Now to some breaking news. A Franklin Township police sergeant has been charged in connection with the response to the deadly August shooting of Lawrence Semanchik and Tyler Webb. Sergeant Kevin Bollaro is now charged with official misconduct and tampering with records. He's accused of receiving a 911 call for shots fired in the area, but instead of driving in the opposite direction, he rather drove in the opposite direction to make an ATM transaction. Investigators say Semanchik's ex-boyfriend, New Jersey State Trooper Richard Santos, killed the couple before turning the gun on himself.
It's been a banner year for New Jersey law enforcement. What you thought, you let the killer work it out of his system? No sense in 3 people getting shot, right? How courageous of you. You do the badge proud. What, you get the call and figured you skip this mission, pass the showcase, take a knee, sit this one out, get yourself a slice, not too hot, completely shirking your obligations as a first responder. You were all those people had, and you decided to turn and drive in the opposite direction. A New Jersey officer has been charged with misconduct after prosecutors say he didn't quickly respond to and properly investigate reports of a shooting that turned out to be a double murder, instead stopping at an ATM and pizzeria. I can't sit here and tell you that I think it's all officers, but when you get these handful of cops that behave like this, it makes you all look terrible. Franklin Township Police Sergeant, we're talking about a veteran here, Kevin Bollaro, was the on-duty officer on the evening of August 1st when police received 911 calls reporting gunshots and screaming in Pittstown, about 60 miles from Manhattan in central New Jersey, according to Hunterdon County Prosecutor Renee Robeson's office. But rather than responding immediately, prosecutors say GPS data and surveillance video show Bollaro drove nearly 2 miles in the opposite direction of the caller's location to a bank ATM.
They have contact with all of the resources that someone who is subjected to abuse might reach out to. They have contact with all of the shelters. They know where the shelters are. They work with the shelters on a regular basis. They are in courtrooms on a regular basis. And so if you went to a judge and asked for a protective order or asked for a prosecution, these are judges and prosecutors who are working with these officers every day. They are parts of the system that we have entrusted with the safety of victims of intimate partner violence. And because they are parts of that system, it is very, very difficult to protect people whose abusers are police officers.
At this point, anything is possible. I wouldn't even put it past him and a few of his law enforcement buddies having an unofficial red flag on the house or being prompted to not respond to that address. This is too on the nose. It's almost like he knew what was going to happen and was trying to buy his cop buddy some time. Then he didn't even stop along the way. He drove 2 miles in a different direction. This has to be the most blatant, egregious dereliction of duty in recent history. Dispatchers relayed other calls from concerned neighbors as Bollaro proceeded toward their locations without activating his police vehicle's emergency lights and sirens, they said. Now, we all know you can hear sirens from a long distance away. Maybe activating the sirens, if you weren't so unfashionably late, would have shook the killer and caused him to make a mistake and leave early or cut what he had to do to get the hell out of there. When he arrived at the location of the first caller, he didn't go straight to the house. He went to the caller first. We're wasting precious minutes here. The officer told the dispatcher he didn't hear anything and said he would continue to the locations of the other callers. But Robeson's office said GPS data shows he never visited those locations before he asked the dispatcher to clear him from the scene. They say Bollaro instead headed to Duke's Pizzeria in Pittstown, where he remained for nearly an hour. There's no way you can tell me that he did not know what was going on about that house. He didn't even try to transfer the call, give the call to someone else that was definitely going to respond. Witnesses later saw him park and enter another local restaurant where he remained for roughly another hour. So that was 2 hours. That was plenty of time for this state trooper, aka the killer, to kill these 2 people with plenty of time to spare for him to watch an episode of Sons of Anarchy and get the hell out of the house. Bollaro later submitted a report in which which prosecutors say he made false statements about the extent of his investigation. They note that during the time frame he claimed to be canvassing the area, the officer was already en route to the pizzeria.
Complete and utter failure. A failure that took place in the context of police officers being asked to be accountable for the actions of one of their own. It's something that we call the blue wall of silence or the code of blue, in which officers will take care of and protect one of their own. We believe that that is exactly what happened in this circumstance.
The total apathy and inaction that met Lauren Semanchik when she came to you, law enforcement, for help with this Lieutenant Santos not only enabled Lieutenant Santos, it emboldened Lieutenant Santos to carry out this grisly action. You were not helping your brother. If you really wanted to help a fellow police officer, you should have forced them to seek professional help, and maybe the two sides would be alive today. Their blood is on your hands because you chose to do absolutely nothing when this woman pleaded with you for help. The following day, August 2nd, the bodies of Lauren Semanchik, 33, and Tyler Webb, 29, were found in a home roughly 600 feet away from the location of the first 911 caller. Prosecutors say the two had been shot to death by New Jersey State Police Lieutenant Ricardo Santos, who had later killed himself. Two cowards. The first coward killed himself to not face the consequences for what he'd done, and the second coward wouldn't show up for out of fear of going against the grain with his blue buddies. Bollaro has been charged with official misconduct for knowingly refraining from performing his police duties. Coward. Prosecutors said he also faces a charge of tampering with public records for knowingly making false entries in his incident report. His lawyer, Charles Sierra, didn't immediately respond to an email seeking comment Saturday, but in a statement to the New York Post called the charges unfortunate, heartless. Good start. He maintained nothing Kevin Bollaro did or did not do that day impacted or could have stopped the killings. Who are defending you officers? If you wouldn't have drove 2 miles in the other direction, and if you wouldn't have spent 2 hours away from the crime scene, this would have looked completely different. This wouldn't even have been a story. The families of the two shooting victims, meanwhile, have said they are shocked at Sergeant Bollaro's egregious conduct and believe it is the tip of the iceberg of many failures by the local and state police in the killing.
Instead of doing what they were required to do, again, contact Santos's supervisors and New Jersey State Police Internal Affairs, what did they do? They actually picked up the phone and they called Santos, a lieutenant, and asked him, did you key Dr. Semanchik's car and damage it? Have you been harassing and calling her? Well, of course he denied keying her car. What lieutenant in the New Jersey State Police Department would admit to committing a crime? Although he did admit to calling her. And what did they do? They told him to back off.
Of course, I love to hear your thoughts on this. I love to hear your opinions on this. Your entire establishment, your entire law enforcement establishment gave this man a free pass and an opportunity to kill these two people for no other reason than he had a badge, just like you did.